Hey guys, my name is Attorney Walter with Not the Third. I am live with you guys right now on YouTube. I've already missed a couple phone calls because it is 8:15 p.m. and I know we're supposed to go live at 8. However, as I always tell you guys, this is not my real job as a YouTube person. Rather, I am a practicing Social Security disability attorney that has hearings. I have hearings early in the morning tomorrow, and here we go. 8 to 10 every Thursday. I always donate 2 hours. With that said, I do see you guys calling me. We will get to you shortly. Now, with all that in mind, I want to give an update specifically when it comes to President Biden's current treatment of the future acts that are coming out. As you know, there are 2 acts that he is basically presenting and bringing forward. They are not final. With these acts, he's basically working with a third party in the middle group to go ahead and allow the Democrats and the Republicans to come together. Yes, the far left, yes, the far right politicians are not coming together at all on this. Yes, it's the usual thing. The Democrats are arguing that there needs to be more. The Republicans are arguing that there needs to be less. They're saying we need to pay for this. They're saying, how are we going to pay for this? Understood. But let's go into the details real quick, specifically about President Biden's intentions here. The grand majority of his future infrastructure-based act has nothing to do with the fourth stimulus. It may get added. He's open to it, but we don't have anything on that yet. Yes, a bunch of the Democrats back in the day, specifically a group of senators and then also a group of House representatives, a larger group of House representatives, sent him a specific letter saying, we would like to see this. But since then, we have not heard much of a peep from him. People have been shooting for and pushing for and wanting to see essentially a $2,000, $1,000 per child option, or at least some sort of payment benefit option. And with that said, the whole idea here is that President Biden is trying to redo the bridges, redo the roads, redo the government buildings, redo the systems requiring electronic technology to increase the capacity of the agencies to do what their thing is, which, of course, as we all know, is essentially being able to process claims from the government standpoint. And that's process claims, whether it's with the FBI, the SSA, the IRS, etc. So let's take a quick moment and do an analysis. There is a trend right now where we are seeing one of these with the economy, and that's very good. Because we are seeing one of those with the economy, we are expecting that there's going to be a bit of pushback, however, specifically from an additional stimulus. A lot of the arguments that are coming out, in my opinion, are absolutely terrible. And that's that, number one, a lot of the stimulus money has not already been, claimed or sought after. At least that's what they claim. And therefore, they're claiming that they don't need to do an additional stimulus because the amount of people trying to obtain the stimulus is not, as much as they thought they needed. This is a terrible argument because there's a lot of people who can't even get access to the stimulus money. I have never received a single stimulus check in the sense of the initial $1,200, $600, or $1,400 checks up to this point. I did receive the PPPs. I am looking at the EIDLs. I spoke with the EIDL group, and he told me that I had rejected the EIDL of up to $500,000 of a loan 4 times. I've never once rejected it at all. So there is something funky going on with the whole EIDL system through the SBA. There are people still seeking to obtain these loans, people like me with small businesses as a result. The problem is, unfortunately, that some of these politicians are saying that people just don't want this money. And there's a lot of people like me who can't get access to it because we've requested it. And they say, oh, you're denied because you didn't do this, but you can appeal. Then I appeal and then come up with a new excuse as to why I can't get it that's not valid to the actual statute. So around we go. The other argument that I'm seeing is that basically the economy is improving and that they're looking for basically people to go back to work to do jobs. Here's the thing, okay? The economy is not improving that greatly. Sure, when you compare it to a complete shutdown, anything looks great. But I personally believe that if you really want to jumpstart the economy, you don't just trickle money to basically parents. You actually give people money to be able to buy things that they need to be safe. So what if some of them didn't need it and they invested it? So what? It's kickstarting the economy and getting it rolling all the way across. All right. Now, I want to talk about one thing. A lot of people have this expectation of $2,000 of a stimulus check. A lot of people have even more of an expectation of $2,000 until this whole COVID thing is over. Well, let me tell you this. If they came out with a statute that said, everybody's going to get $2,000 until basically this, per month until this whole thing is over, then it would be over tomorrow. And that's how they would play the game. They'd say, oh, we beat COVID, mission accomplished, mission successful. So I think it's incredibly important with the structure of all this stuff that you understand the basics. I think it's incredibly important that as we go through this, you understand, that there are agendas here. There's not enough money because people haven't been paying all of their taxes because people haven't been earning that much money. So they're not paying as much taxes on their payroll. which means at the same time, the official, politicians don't have as much money to play with. So if they don't have as much GDP to play with, even though a recent report is saying that we're getting close to that GDP of what we normally have, then what we're coming down to is, and I see a bunch of people calling, then what we are coming down to is a situation where, very simply put, the politicians don't have as much money as they normally do play with. The people are demanding more money, and the politicians basically can't legislate because they don't have as much money. Then we get into the whole argument of some of the Democratic, the crew or whatever you want to call them, have come forward with a plan to basically go ahead and create coins, which would essentially be having one government agency inside the federal government purchase it from another, and then attribute $1 trillion to the worth of that coin. It would be $1 trillion coin. That's not a great idea, but look, here's the thing. Democrats, as I always say, they come out with the innovations of, the far, far down the line. So imagine a hallway, and you're in this hallway, and you're seeing these pictures, and these pictures down this hallway, these framed paintings have these ideas in them, and each one has an idea. Well, way down that hallway tend to be the Democrat-based ideas, and then right up close to where we're at right now tend to be the Republican ideas. It takes the Democrats to come up with the far down stuff, and it takes the Republicans to figure out how it can actually be paid for, utilization of it, etc. So with that said, I just want to go through some of the basics here. No, there's nothing on the books for a fourth stimulus check. Yes, he's open to it. No matter what Bernie Sanders or Warren have anything to say, Senator Warren, Senator Sanders have anything to say about it, deems that it's absolutely going to happen. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there. I know that there's a lot of information out there where people are basically going and saying, oh, it's been signed for. Biden did it again. President Biden, the man of the people, all this stuff. And I understand that. And I appreciate it. But a lot of that, unfortunately, and I really hate to say this, is just junk. It's junk and it's not helpful. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's not really going anywhere. So just keep that in mind. Let's go forward from here so that we can talk about what the future of all this is and then kind of, increase. We are seeing child tax credits. We expect to continue to see that going forward. I think the Biden administration is putting a heavy focus on the ideology that he wants to pay for kids going forward to be successful, and that this is his way of doing that. I really like the approach he took to basically making the federal budget for kind of your introductory school-based system. So like your preschool, your pre-K, your pre-kindergarten, your kindergarten, etc. A little known fact that a lot of people didn't know about me back in the day is that I actually was held back in kindergarten twice. Well, I was held back once, really. I went through it twice. And as a result of that, I then went into first grade. Actually, not behind everybody. My age group was right on the line. So I actually went in as just an older person within the same amount going into the first grade. But my point to you is, I think Biden, his attachment to kids and his attachment to education and his attachment to the needs of children, I think that's a little bit more spot on than we've seen in prior administrations, including Trump and Obama. So with that said, I've given you a little intro now. I'm going to be going into specifically answering questions of people. Here we go. I know I've missed a zillion phone calls. Let's go to them right now. I'm going to the first person who called, who ironically called from an unknown number. So let's try out this. Let's try it out real quick. 1 second, guys. I'm going to call this person now, and then we will begin the process. Here we go. And you guys know how this goes. It's going to ring a couple of times. Then I'm going to ask the person not to say their name live, and then we'll go ahead and put them on the speakerphone and get them ready to roll. So here we go. And let's see if we can get through to this person right now. 1 second. And like always, whenever we have this thing, I'll try calling one more time, then we'll go to the next one. Okay, 1 second. Perfect. And then while I'm waiting for them to ring through, I'll kind of give you a quick update with the Social Security Commissioner. As you guys know, the Social Security Commissioner, Andrew Saul, was terminated on Monday. A new commissioner is taking his place, getting set up, things like that. So the whole point is, do we have somebody on the phone? Let me see. Oh, there's Sweetie. Howdy, good sir. Remember to use a fake name. We are live on YouTube. Now, do you have a question for me, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Okay, gotcha. Give me now. You're not on the loudspeaker yet. What was the email that you sent to me? Well, what's the name on it? T. Okay, gotcha. All right. Let me look for this real quick. I'm going to put you on speakerphone. Remember, do not use your real name. And here we go. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so let's go through this real quick. Tell me about your question. I'm going to be reading, in addition, while you're talking about that, specifically what you sent me in an email.
Post-hearing over the phone. Let's see here if I have my notes. The ALJ started with, there will be some open records for a certain amount of days. And I guess because of new findings, what will happen with the open records? How long does that take for him to get that? And I'm assuming that's just to see any possible new findings to either help the case or not even change the case. But what is the deal with the open record?
All right, so an open record is basically where the judge is. Now, you're not obviously represented, correct?
I was represented, and I am post-hearing.
Okay, so post-hearing open record basically means that the judge is going ahead and allowing the attorney to obtain records to submit into the record that were not present prior to the hearing. And what usually happens is the attorney will submit what's called a 5-10-day letter. The 5-10-day letter is basically notification to the judge that within 5 days before the hearing, the attorney notified the judge of any missing medical documentation or other evidence that is necessary for the adjudication. And so at that point, the judge will say, okay, I see your 5-10-day, which is a newer rule, by the way, just the past couple of years that came out. And as a result of that, I'll go ahead and leave the record open for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever. And then at that point, basically, it is your job, the claimant, and your attorney's job to go ahead and reach out and try really hard to get to that medical documentation. Now, you are now past the point of requesting that medical documentation to be subpoenaed by the judge. Because if something needs to be subpoenaed by the judge, meaning like the judge goes after it instead of the attorney and the claimant, then we have to notify as attorneys the judge 10 days before the hearing that we need something subpoenaed so that the judge can go ahead and send out a subpoena request. So at this point, it's up to you and that attorney to go get that medical documentation, which can be either very easy or completely impossible. It ranges from literally as simple as pie to it just will never happen. Doesn't matter if it's subpoenaed. Doesn't matter if the army shows up at the door of the medical facility, they won't give them up. So the whole point here that I'm trying to tell you is it's your job with that attorney to now go and get that medical evidence. So have you spoken with the attorney about that medical evidence, and have you gotten together a plan to obtain it?
I have obtained some, and I have forwarded straight to the attorney, and there will be some pending still that I intend to forward to the attorney immediately as I get it.
Okay. So you're working away. Now, do you know specifically whether or not you have all the medical documentation, part of the medical documentation? Like, how much left do you need that's still missing?
Some upcoming visits. There will be one visit with the specialist, and then there will be an imaging diagnostic test. So those two last remaining things will be the only thing that's still outstanding.
Okay, now keep in mind the judge has to give the okay for additional evidence that is created after the hearing. So are you talking about medical evidence that's going to be created, like you're going to the doctor, getting an imaging or some sort of test after the hearing? Or are you talking about stuff that you've already done and you're just buying the records?
These are going to be direct records. A lot of these places have patient portals and stuff you can get on there and print out the test results and records, letters, all that. So it'll be true document.
Okay. But this is not new medical documentation. This is just, you've done the medical treatment and now this is just the documentation that all came before the hearing, correct?
Oh, no. These will be new findings. I was proceeding with my case, and before the hearing, there was a hospital visit involved, so they found some new things.
Okay, but that was all prior to the hearing, correct?
Yes, right before, I think what you said, the 5-day thing or whatever beforehand.
Okay. the 5-10 day letter. So that's okay. But just remember, if you have medical treatment after that hearing and you attempt to go ahead and obtain that medical documentation and submit it, the judge has the right to slap that stuff down and say, no, 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 I'm not going to go ahead. Well, a better word than slap, but he's not going to go ahead or she's not going to go ahead and include that into the record. And here's why that's important. Your attorney, if there is something new that comes out, can always request, put the knee pads on and say, I beg, I please, Your Honor, to go ahead and allow essentially the judge to, incorporate that new evidence. But I just want to say one thing. If you are heavily relying on brand new medical documentation, that is a very good sign that they're going to be moving your alleged onset date forward in time because you were not meeting the severity standard before these new findings. So, what is your alleged onset date?
Well, with all that said, I believe it was 2015.
When did you file?
2020.
Well, that's an impossible alleged onset date. You can't use that.
I know. I went through the hearing. We probably should skip ahead a little bit to the end of my hearing when we got to, of course, the vocational expert. And I'm not certain my case has been in my favor, but I do think it is because, the VE questions. And, of course, I was not that I am not able to do the work that I was able to previously do. So then he found, of course, 3 jobs that someone could do, and then he eliminated some of my limitations. He said, well, it dropped it down to 50 cents, and then my attorney asked him some other questions, and he said, well, that takes it down to about 17%. So the other 2 jobs, my attorney asked him, okay, well, if they had all these limitations here and this limitation, he said, well, that job, there would be no work available for him to do.
All right, that does not inherently mean de facto that you're going to be found disabled. That just means that the attorney gave hypotheticals that would not allow for a hypothetical person to be found disabled. So you know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, oh, the vocational expert said no jobs available. They say that at the end of almost every hearing that an attorney is present, because an attorney will ask them, well, if the claimant's off task 15% of the time, or the claimant misses 2 days per month, or the claimant is unable to reach, in all directions bilaterally, above the head, above the shoulder, above whatever, then they have to say as a vocational expert that there's no available jobs in the national economy. So you can't use that as the standard. In fact, you already know what's going on. The judge is telling you essentially that he wants the new evidence because he thinks it's relevant to the claim. And as a result of that, kind of the bottom line here is, the judge, I'm thinking, has some issues with the claim. And, let's call it like it is. There might be some problems with the claim. And I'll tell you the first one. Your alleged onset date, 2015. That's an impossible date for this claim. If you filed in 2020, you get essentially 17 months back from the initial protective filing date, which means that, you're looking at 2020 back to 2019, 2018. There's no way you can reach back to 2015. The judge will never approve that. So
that is the date I had set originally. Now it seemed like my attorney said something to that nature. So that date may have been changed or rewritten or something. So you may be correct on that. I just know when I first filed, that's basically when my problem started.
Okay.
So,
when,
like you said, that time frame, it may not have been able to be submitted. So I think it may have been changed to whatever the attorney said it could be. And there was another, the last job for the vocational expert. He asked him, the attorney asked him, okay, for this last job, and take away these limitations and all that. And and for that job, there would be no work that he could do on that one either.
Okay.
And then basically, the hearing had wrapped on up.
Okay.
And the attorney sounded happy, but I still don't know what that means. And I'm not looking for an answer, you know, did I win the case, did I not, whatever, but I didn't know if that's an indication that it may be going in my favor.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you a couple of questions real quick. What's your current age?
9.
Okay. So you're under the grid out option, so we don't have that. What are your top 5 most severe impairments?
Cervical ruptures, lumbar ruptures, severe psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis,
Okay.
and I've got 2 more. I don't know how they, you know, bilateral carpal tunnel and or right torn rotator, whichever one of those 2 you want to use. But yeah, I have those plus about 4 other. Those would be the top.
Any mental impairments, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, stuff like that?
No, I mean, there was just anxiety because of upcoming surgeries, you know, but that's probably common with a lot of people. But no, nothing like that.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming you were prescribed ambulatory devices, right? Difficulty with walking, difficulty with standing. What kind of ambulatory devices,
Yeah.
crutches, canes, walkers, have you been prescribed?
Well, I have bought some personally, yes, crutches and canes. I don't know if braces, back braces, knee braces, leg braces, if any of that, you know, but that is on record, and I do have all of that.
That you bought them or that they were prescribed?
That I had bought.
Okay.
I guess apparently I didn't know all that could be prescribed.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What about your driving abilities? Do you still have a driver's license? Are you able to drive?
I do, and I have my driver's license, and you know, I can only get within short distances.
Okay.
I mean, like, you know, not that far at all.
Okay. Are you able to walk up staircases? Are you able to go to the second floor?
No, and no.
Okay. And do you live on a single story, 2-story? What kind of place do you live at?
Single.
Okay. What about getting in and out of a car? Are you able to do that?
Yeah, there's pretty strict limitations with that.
Okay. All right, and help me out here. What kind of pain medication are you taking?
Well, amitriptyline, APEP with codeine, tramadol. Couldn't handle the gabapentin, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's about it. And then I don't know if like analgesic creams, rubs, lidocaine, if any of that matters or not.
Okay. All right. So, look, right off the bat, one of the things I'm concerned about is some of the basic stuff for a back claim that you do with all back claims hasn't been done, which is like, prescriptions for stuff, prepping testimony, prepping details about, living, statements, etc. So what I would say is this, and I know that you're pushing, that you feel really good about it, but I would be a little bit worried because if the claim was really, really strong, then why would the judge leave the record open for more records to get in? And if the claim is really strong...
That was done at the beginning. Yeah, that was done at the very beginning of the hearing. Yeah, that's the attorney, or are there any new whatever? And I guess, yeah.
Okay.
That's where that was at the beginning.
Now, usually the judges and the attorneys have read the claim by the time it started, usually. And usually the attorneys will have some sort of brief going into the hearing that the judge has already read, which notifies to the judge, hey, there's outstanding records. So my point to you is I wouldn't start taking out loans against the potential of this being approved.
No,
yeah.
I'm in no way. breathing easy and I'm not breathing, hard. So
Right.
it is what it is, and we'll wait to see.
Gotcha. No worries. All right. So with all that said, wow. Oh, wow. Sergeant Melinda. Thank you. Retired Sergeant Melinda just made another huge donation. She makes them, and they're huge. They're $99.99, which is amazing. And I really, 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 really appreciate that. I'm just going to read real quick what she said. Can only stay to say hello. Y'all love and miss you all very much. He's an amazing and passionate soul who loves to help us. Thank you. Stay positive, never give up, and always keep on keeping on. Which is actually a phrase I use all the time, keep on keeping on, because I grew up in a country area where they use that. But thank you, Retired Sergeant Melinda. I really, really appreciate that. Let me just put this in. Thank you so much. It's literally, these are my budgets for buying the dogs treats. And they're, as you can see, abusing that because they're right here nudging me because they know when I'm live, they can get away with that stuff and just keep nudging me for more food, even though they pretty much get that even when I'm not live. But good sir, do you have any additional questions for me?
I do, as far as heard something about if you have a student that is under 19 but over 18, and you apply, I guess, for disability, I guess if you get disability, is there any monetary pay for that? I've read something or researched something that you can get funds for, I guess, your disability time frame or something. If, like I said, a student under 19 but over 18, is there any allotment there, or am I just reading nonsense?
Okay, so real quick, if a student, so this student is disabled, correct?
No. I'm not disabled. I just thought that if a parent or person applies for disability, you may also be entitled to get pay for your student under 19 over 18. But that may be what it is, that the student might have to be disabled. So, I don't know. But I didn't know, is it a possible disability, payee if you are allowed any benefits for that student, I guess, for being his parent.
So there are auxiliary benefits
because you may be disabled. I don't know. I could have read into that wrong, and I'm sure you may know.
So there are usually benefits available to children, but remember, if we're talking over 18 now, if this person's still in school, like basic high school, and they're still trucking through that, then they extend it to 18 to 19 to 20 to 21 to 22 options. But the bottom line is, yes, they do have a benefit option available. If the child is disabled as well, they can sometimes tap into what's called disabled adult child benefits. If they're younger, then basically that 18 to 21, 22 area, then basically they can look at what's called auxiliary benefits. But there are some benefits available, and the only way you're going to really know is, because I don't know your claim, and to go through a little details here and there, but call up the local field office and ask them if the child can get benefits, and just be prepared to give them information related to the child, because they're going to have to look up that kid's information on the computer as well to be able to see whether or not there's a link that they can pay.
Okay.
But there are options for not disabled and disabled children. Okay. But the whole 18 to 19, but give the SSA a call and ask